Hey, it's Joe Fair with Geek Toolkit, and I just bought one of these ZWave Plus Aeotec Wallmote Quads. These things are super cool. Let's see, I've got this one on the camera here. It's got 4 quadrants on it. It comes with some super slick magnetic mounts. It's got a single action button on the back. They call it the action button. It's actually almost like a programming button here. So whenever I say action button, that's what I'm talking about. And I think it was about $50 on Amazon. You can see I've got it on Vesternet here, but it is a very cool device. And I'm going to have it just here on the camera so that when I show you, when you touch it, it lights up, it vibrates. It can also play a beep noise. It's got 4 quadrants that support touch and hold. So you get 8 commands off of this. And it's just a really cool kind of futuristic. I like the light. The light can be changed to different colors. Just a very neat setup. The thing is, to get it working with Home Assistant, and especially Node-RED, took me, I think I spent 4 hours on this tonight. And I thought that's worth a video just to, even if it's a little bit quick and dirty, just to kind of explain all of the stuff I had to go through. And what's sad is I was following a tutorial. So let's get going and I'll show you what you need to do. The first thing you want to do is hold it down the action button I talked about for 10 seconds until it flashes red and then orange. That'll put it in a pairing mode, and let's see, we're going to go into Home Assistant and we'll get it into our ZWave. Now I have a tutorial on how to do this, so I won't go through it all, but I want to show you what happens here. When it's flashing, you'll click on Add Node, then click Heal Network, and you should see the orange flashing stop. When the orange flashing stops, when you go to nodes, you should see this here, Aeon Labs Wallmote Quad. Note this node number. This is very important. Also make sure that it doesn't say probe next to it. See, this one says cache load. Make sure it doesn't say probe. Once you've got that, I typically recommend restarting Home Assistant from HAS.io system and then reboot, just to make sure that everything gets cleared out, but that may be an optional thing. We're going to have to reboot again anyway. Because here's the thing, once you get that in, we have to edit the config file. And I'd never done this before. It's actually a little bit obtuse, but this is how we do it. The first thing is, and I'll have this page in the help file, but this right here are additional things that you have to do for ZWave devices that are more complex to set up. So they just call it device specific settings. And you'll see there's a number of devices on here. And there are 2 for this. And I want you to be really careful and make sure that you do not use this one here if you're using the Wallmote. The Wallmote is right below it. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy this into the config file. But we can't do that until Home Assistant stops, because if you do, what will happen is Home Assistant will pounce over the configuration you write. So we're going to go to, let's see here, we'll go to Samba and config, and here's the config file here. It's going to be ZWCFG and then a number. But remember, I can't edit this until I kill Home Assistant. So we're going to go to Terminal. Now, if you don't have Terminal, by the way, it's a HAS.io add-on. You go to the add-on store, official add-ons. I'm sorry, the community add-ons, and then go to here and install this. Make sure to follow the install tutorial just like any add-on, and make sure that you put your password here, otherwise this won't start. Start it, make sure it stays started, and if you say show in sidebar, you can just click here. And what this does is gives you a nice SSH terminal. What we're going to type is HAS.io Home Assistant and then stop. And when we hit enter here, we're going to be dead in the water, because what's going to happen is it's going to kill the Home Assistant instance and we won't be able to use a web UI anymore. That's fine, we can reboot it in a second. The main thing is we need this to stop so that we can edit this file. I'll load up Visual Studio while that's stopping. We'll just do this in real time. This processing that it says it's doing is basically dumping that file to here. So we'll get that file loaded. Let's see if this is still going. Okay, connection lost. So this is done. And here's that file. Now this is a ZWave configuration file, and it wasn't clear to me how to read this. If you shrink this file down though, it starts becoming really obvious. So I'm going to shrink all of these nodes here so I can show you what's going on. So these node IDs matched up to what we had in our configuration in our ZWave. We had different nodes. So whatever node ID your wall mount shows up as, that's the one that you want to edit. So here is my basic wall controller, and it showed up as node ID 11. Remember that web page where I said there was a configuration? We're going to expand this, go down to command classes, and you'll see there's a number of these here, and one of them is either there or not. It's going to be 91. If it's not there, that's fine. You're going to basically paste what was in that website. Let's see. Let me slow down just so you're going to paste all of this, copy this, highlight it. If you hit Control C, it'll copy it. And then go here and hit Control V. And it'll paste it. And typically I think this is either not here or it's a couple lines, but you're going to paste it in. You're going to save it. Then you're going to go reboot your HAS.io instance. So there's a couple different ways to do that. If you have VNC, you can VNC into your Pi if you have it available. Let's see here. I have it 66. I'm going to pause it a second. Basically, I'm going to go reboot my Pi. So let's do that. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back and we've rebooted. So the next thing we want to do is test this. And this is really, really important because if this doesn't work, then you have to go through those steps again. And this was something that one of the reasons it took me 4 hours is I wasn't catching that you have to do this. Just to make sure that you've got everything configured. So select your node here. And then under node config options, there's a report type here for the config parameter. And make sure it says send central scene command notification and then hit set. If that works, then what will happen for me, let's see here. So I've got that set. I'm going to go down here to the, I want to shrink this around a little bit. There we go. Number of last log files, I'll set this to about 20. I'm going to click tail. This is the last 20 things that got sent to my ZWave controller. Now I'm going to hit the buttons. So let's bring up the camera again. There we go. So you can see me hitting the buttons. And we'll hit tail again. And we can see, we should be able to see if this is working. These are all node 9. This isn't it. So I should be seeing this off node 11. Double check this here. Okay. Node 11. We'll click these again. Here we go. Node 11, scene ID equals 1 in 0 seconds. No, it got overwritten, so we'll do it again. Scene ID equals 2. That was the second button. And there's no errors. Everything looks good. Notification value changed. Okay, so this is great. This means that when I'm hitting the buttons, they're showing up as expected from the right node, and there's button 3 and button 4 are all working. So I just realized you can't see that. So I'm hitting the buttons here, and we're seeing them show up here. Okay. Now we can actually do automations where this is actually set up correctly at this point. If you know YAML, you can use that to program it. You're going to want to do the ZWave scene event changed. If not, and you want to do it in Node-RED, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, we can close this now. We're going to switch over to Node-RED. I want to go back to the documentation real quick and show you at the bottom here. This is for single tap, this is for button hold, and it talks about the scene data. Let's make sure I'm on wall mode. Okay. And down here, let's see, I guess it actually doesn't say it. It's very similar to the nanomote, and so what we're looking for, here we go. ZWave scene activated is the event that fires. That's how these work, and both of them work the same way, just the data is different on this one. This is really important. I'll show you why. This is how we're going to build this out. We'll create a new flow here. We'll call it Wallmote. And we're going to say listen to all events, but we're going to filter it down to ZWave scene activated. Okay, get scene changes. And remember, the blue means it's not deployed yet. We'll do a debug. And I'm going to show you this, building it up from scratch so that you understand how it was put together. So I've deployed that. Let me break this one so that we don't get a bunch of my other stuff here. We wait till this says connected, and then when we hit the Wallmotes, we see them show up. All right, so all my scene change events are showing up here. And when we go down, we see that they come from an entity ID of the Wallmote, which is important. We're going to want to filter on that because I don't want every scene to fire this flow. And then down in the object here, we can see scene ID 2 and here scene ID 1. So this is actually telling me what button was pressed. So now we have this. The way we do a flow is we're going to filter through these here. So let's get rid of this. And we're going to go down and use switches to do this. We're going to need a switch for which entity, like what device basically did this. And then we're going to need a switch for what button got hit. This switch here, we can see, let's see, I'll clean this up. How are we going to do this? There we go. One event. This is the message.payload. And on this event is an entity ID. So we're going to say message.payload.entity ID, just like this here. If that is equal to this, then we want to go to 1. We basically want this to continue. And then the next thing is on this switch, this is going to say which button. The message.payload, let's see, actually it's the message. Well, here, let's do this. We're going to output the output of this node here. I don't want to make an assumption that we know what the output of this node is yet. So we will deploy this. And we want to make sure that this fires, because if it doesn't, that means that our switch is wrong. So we hit this here. Let's see here. We hit a button. Hear it light up. Yep. All right. So this switch filter is working. It's getting through. And now for the button, we can say, let's see here. Okay, I wanted to double check that. It's literally message.payload, which is all of this, .event. See, we're working our way down. You put a dot for each of these subtrees here. So message.payload is here, .event, and then this one down here, .scene ID. And we're going to say that is equal to 1. If that is equal to 1, only then do we want to output a message payload. And we've got blue dots here. We're going to hit deploy. We're going to clean this up. If we did this right, we should only see something show up here when we hit the first button. So we're going to move this down so I can show you guys. Here we go. There's something showed up. 2, 3, and 4, nothing showed up. Excellent. All right. 2 more tweaks we want to do here. So we want to add another condition that says if it's equal to 1 fire, we're going to say 2, 3, and 4. And what you'll see is these expand out here. If I double click on message payload and I say node status, and then I'm going to Control C, Control V, we're going to copy this. We're going to do the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. We're just going to verify one more time that our buttons are actually filtered through here, and then which button, and then that these fire. We'll deploy. We'll wait for this to come up as activated. I'm going to work on getting the camera up in the meantime. Let's see, where did my camera go? Oh, I don't know where the camera went. Let's see. There it is. There it comes. There we go. All right. And we're going to clear this off. So, oh, I lost the camera again. There we go. So as I hit this, you saw the second one shows an event there. That was button 2. We can see that right here, scene ID 2. And we're just going to go through them all now. 1. Oh, this is hard to do when it's 4 and 3. Okay. So you see these all have events under them now. They were showing up one at a time. That's great. That means that we're now filtering on buttons. Now we can start doing things like have these buttons control lights. So one more thing just to kind of finish off the tutorial here. When we want something to do something from we saw in the node red, we're going to say call service. And in this case, we want to turn a light on. So we'll do light dot, see what lights I have. I have a makerspace light there. This is going to be a light domain, and we're going to say toggle. So every time we hit it, it'll turn off the on and off the back left light. And that should do it. And let's see, that was the first one. So that should be the only one that does something. We'll hit deploy. Did I hit the first button? Let's see here. I think I closed my camera again. Oh, and you know the other thing I want to do, I want to keep the debug here just to show you, just so we can see it light up when we hit the right one. That way we'll know if this fails or something happens here, we'll still know something happened because the debug will fire. So there's the... Okay. All right, and my light turned off, so great. So let's see if I can show that now. We're going to show that light there, and if I hit this toggle, it goes off, light goes on. Very simple. So that's it. That's oh, that's funny. You see the dyno frame back there kicking on and off too. Yep, there we go. So that's my super simple Node-RED tutorial, and that is exciting because that is how to get this Wallmote up and going. So I hope that was super useful to you guys, especially if you have this Wallmote. I'm going to link to the tutorials that I used to get this up and running. This thread here is really, really important. And it also talks about how to get swipes working, which is a bit more advanced. But if you get this going and want to go further, this is great. Thank you to Kevin who put this up on a Google Doc, which was super useful, except for I didn't understand where the command class went. So I was able to show you guys that. And also I did not understand how to stop Home Assistant. So hopefully I showed you guys something there where, you know, it's not clean, but it's a way to do it. And also the debugging here of launching this and seeing it run with the tail. I think that was super critical for me to understand when this was working and when it wasn't. So Like I said, I spent about 4 hours on this. Hopefully this video helps you guys out and it doesn't take you near as long. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Farrow with Geek Toolkit, and until next time.